One. LFG, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Happy 17th of July. We are in the week after an attempted Trump assassination. We are in a week of where the ETH ETFs seem to finally have been approved for next Tuesday. We are in a week where the markets are ripping. We're going to be discussing that. We are in a week where we have quite some indication that the Fed may be lowering rates. So we have a lot of things to discuss. Fabio is in. Welcome. Happy Wednesday. Give us a bit of the bird's eye view on how is the community doing? What are the stories? Let me know what's going on.
Okay, happy Wednesday, everyone. Let me maybe summarize this in a pretty awesome tweet that I saw from Miles Deutsche. He makes great threads, and he basically summarized a bit what's currently going on in 10 points. And we can touch on all of them briefly. But so for me, before we go into that, is the current sentiment is actually for me insanely bullish. Like everywhere I look, if you look at the price charts, if you look at the Bitcoin chart, if you look at XRP or at other altcoins, it feels like there's the smell of bullishness is in the air. It makes me a bit cautious, and I'm still, my mindset is still waiting for a boring summer and a pickup, maybe when September ends into October, into the elections. That's still my thesis. But let's maybe start with mentioning a few points that are somewhat bullish. So point number one is, of course, Germany is completely out of Bitcoin, and the price impact was very little. We can make a comparison to Mount Gox later on. Then, of course, we have.
I was told I was corrected on the Mount Gox, so maybe the nerd talk is it's actually called MT Gox. Just want to be clear because it's Magic the Gathering. So just want to do some nerd mode. So it's called MT Gox. Just want to say, but obviously you can call it Mount Gox. So I switched today after I was corrected, and just wanted to throw in some nerd talk. MT Gox, yeah, I didn't know.
Empty Gox. So yes, point number two is, of course, inflows that are very, very strong. We can unpack those things and during the live stream a bit. Point number three, presidential elections in the US, which are shifting into Trump's favor or have already shifted. If you're taking bets right now, the betting market is giving a 70% probability that Trump is going to win the election. So then we have Trump shortly after his the assassination attempt. He's actually going to speak at Bitcoin conference Nashville. Pretty insane. And both Trump and his nominated VC, actually his VC disclosed holding some Bitcoin. So we would have two kind of Bitcoiners or Bitcoin favors, politicians that favor Bitcoin. And then we have FTX actually bringing back money from the bankruptcy. Why is this bullish? Because it's cash settled, and you can assume that people that held crypto in 2021, when they get cash, that they might put this into the market again. And we're talking 16 billions here. Then we have global liquidity that is picking up, of course, bullish. Ethereum ETF, probably next week.
Tuesday.
Goldman Sachs launching free tokenization projects that would be bullish for Ethereum and RWA and Narrative. Then potential rate cuts in September, and these are the points that are somewhat impacting the bullishness. And maybe we can unpack them one by one. I'm not sure where to start. Maybe with the German government.
Let's do that.
So maybe we can lay a bridge here. So it wasn't actually the German government; it was
Saxonia.
Sachsen. Yeah, Saxonia and the Bundeskriminalamt. So this is like the police, the highest police instance in one of the provinces in Germany. And just to clear out some thoughts is like there's a lot of people that said, yeah, it's super stupid. The German government is selling their Bitcoin, but this is actually required by law. They don't really have an option to hold on to this. You mentioned Example, if they confiscate a luxury yacht, it's basically the same thing. They're not able to hold on to that. They need to basically sell that off. It was done a bit amateur like they were basically doing market dumps on several exchanges. But maybe to bridge this into MT Gox, so the total amount of Bitcoin, they dumped 50,000 Bitcoin in 2 weeks. And on Mount Gox, the total Bitcoin is approximately 3 times what Germany held, but the period that they're going to dump it is can be up to 3 years. So it's not everybody that is going to dump at the same time. We saw Kraken users already receiving an email with that they are going to be credited within 7 to 14 days. So we will know next week when they get their credits. And then the question here is how many of those, let's say 150,000-ish Bitcoins are going to sell? Because keep in mind, these are OGs. These are people that have been following the Bitcoin price 10 years plus. So you might assume that they know where we currently are in the cycle and that some of them will hold on to the Bitcoin that they will get. Of course, not all of them, because they're up thousands of percents. But what's your point here? Is this going to be priced in? Is this going to be negative, positive? Yeah.
I think it's priced in. I don't know. I think it's priced in. There was not much secret information. I think it's priced in.
I would even say I agree it's priced in, but I would even say it's bullish because it's one known. Like
That is
one of the
true.
biggest.
Yeah. Okay. Because there, yeah, sure. Uncertainty is what the market actually doesn't like. So it's, even if you price in uncertainty, that's where the price goes down. So because it's priced in and unknown, this is bullish. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, so if they are actually done dumping or the majority of the Bitcoin is out there or the first creditors receive their funds and the price isn't moving, especially not moving to the downside, that would be bullish. But in the short term, it's hard to say. There is some uncertainty still because not everybody knows the full amount of Bitcoin that are going to be distributed and what kind of impact it will have. So I guess in the short term, priced in or maybe some volatility to the downside. I don't know. I'm going to be buying the dip if it dips. Then I don't know. The next point we can unpack maybe a little bit are the ETFs. Maybe we can summarize both Bitcoin's inflows and the ETH ETF into one segment. What's your take there? Is maybe let's start with the ETH ETF first. Are you confident for this week or the next week?
ETH ETF, you mean?
Yes. Ethereum
ETH
ETF.
ETF. I mean, everything I've read so far, it's about Tuesday. So next Tuesday,
6 days. 6 days.
23rd of July. That's the date. So yeah.
And priced in, bullish.
Definitely bullish. I think it's a bit of a different setup than Bitcoin in January. In January, I think the Bitcoin kind of hype train was very different. So here, I don't see so much of that instant selling right afterwards. I just don't see as much being priced in there. So I mean, I just saw that article about prediction of 5K Bitcoin, about 5K Ethereum, which would be a new all-time high. I hope so. I mean, look, I have heavy bags in Ethereum. I hope so. So of course, I'm on the bullish side here, but I think it's a bit of a different setup. My question is probably a bit more on: are we going to see that same extended kind of demand that we see on Bitcoin? I mean, that's very, very powerful in Bitcoin. I think here the ETFs maybe catch up a little bit at the beginning, and then I would probably say after a month or so, they really kind of go with Bitcoin, in my opinion. So if I would have to make some bets, I think maybe in the next months we see an outperformance of ETH against Bitcoin. And then I actually think it's gonna be very much aligned again, depending on if it's pure the money printing game. I do think Bitcoin is gonna be ahead there, just because Bitcoin still with that narrative of digital gold. I think it has a stronger utility when it comes to money printing. That's just a bit of my expectation. So probably Q3, I would see Ethereum outperformance switching to Bitcoin outperformance in Q4 again. That would be my prediction at the moment.
Yeah,
What are your thoughts?
Short term, I don't know. Like probably there's still my thesis that Solana is going to pump on the day of the listing, just because this is going to be the next narrative.
Right.
But when it comes to ETH in particular, it has this. It's a bit of the forgotten child. Like it's still by total value locked and all different kind of metrics, by brand name and so on. It's one of the biggest, the second best in this case. But it has been there hasn't been a lot of hype since the merge, and that is reflected in the price. And it has been like there is not this. If you go last cycle or the cycle before, there was so much hype about Ethereum, and you've read so many things online, and they're changing and they're flipping and so on. And right now you don't see any hype out there, so it's a bit of the forgotten child. But I still think that a lot of people might underestimate what Ethereum can do this cycle. It has a lot of things going for it, and yeah, I wouldn't bet against it. And the ETF is definitely bullish, especially long term. We could see that with Bitcoin. I mean, yeah, the inflows were just crazy. And here, I don't know, my estimates would be around the same. So it took Bitcoin 6 months until Grayscale kind of faded out and turned from outflows into inflows. I would say it's probably going to be similar, maybe a bit shorter on the Ethereum side, and then. Probably the inflows are maybe 10 to 20% of what we saw in Bitcoin, just because if you compare the market caps to two very different kind of assets. That would be my. Maybe we can go over to the U.S. elections and what happened last week. I mean, pretty crazy.
Yeah. Do you want to add anything else on the crypto side? Okay. Maybe let's. Why is XRP pumping like nuts?
I have no clue. Like you were, I saw it on, I think on the Bake app, they feature these best performance. I saw it there and I was like, oh, what happened? And I briefly looked at the charts. The only thing that I could see is that we basically are still after the pump. We pumped like the XRP pumped like 40% or so, but still after that 40% pump, it's down 70% year, like within a year. Last July to this July, it's down since the SEC news, I think. Yeah. So, why did it pump? I have no clue.
Okay. Before we go to politics, anything on the DeFi chain side? Maybe I wanna add something, and then see if you wanna add something. Birthday Research announced that we're stopping the quantum bridge. I also made a tweet regarding regulation. So I just want to be very clear. Sometimes, also when it comes, for example, contacting a lot of the inactive accounts. So I just want to be very clear. A lot of things, right, that people think, oh my goodness, why do you do this from a business side? We are required to do certain things. We are required to check on KYC documents. We are on a regular basis. We are required to see if accounts are still active. I obviously hope not, but people could be deceased, and these are all things that you need to check on, right? So I just want to be very clear. I understand that, sometimes people don't like that, but it's just there are certain requirements. And the same on the bridge. So a lot of things are regulatory reasons, are obviously then business reasons, cost reasons, and so on. So just want to address that a bit. I hope that kind of clarifies some questions that I sometimes get. Just want to address that. Do you want to? There was a question here on here. If Fabio could summarize a few things on the DeFi chain side, do you want to maybe share a few things there? If we have anything. Otherwise, we can close the crypto topic and we go to politics. But just want to see if there's anything from your side.
Yeah, sure. I can do a bit of DeFi chain, just summarizing what was happening, let's say, over the last 1 or 2 weeks. Then we can do some politics and ending on macro.
Yep, that's
okay,
a good
so
idea. I think that's a nice one. Yep.
On the DeFi chain side, the most important thing was yesterday, 16th of July, we had the finishing period of the last voting cycle, and I'm not sure. I think there were 3 competing similar DFIP, so DeFi chain improvement proposals surrounding DUSD, the US dollar stablecoin on DFI. And one of these 3 made the race. It was submitted by a user called Phil, and it basically is. I'm a bit hesitant when using the word haircut, but it does it's somewhat of a haircut light. So what it does is basically it lowers the liquidity by around 90% with not directly destroying or burning these funds, but basically time locking them, and giving certain requirements to the unlock. And it's a bit difficult to explain, but Kugi has some nice summaries. I think if you go to blog.defachain.com, you can find an exceptional blog piece made by one of our content creators that basically summarizes the whole DFIP, the impacts it could have, and even opinion pieces of people that really understand what's going on. I'm talking especially Kugi has made an awesome video explaining the whole thing. So if you want to know what the impact of this DFIP will be and the approach, I would suggest going to the DeFi Chain blog and kind of getting your information there. This was by far the biggest thing that has happened here. I just try to manage expectations. I had a meeting with the core developers on Monday, and we briefly touched on that. That was one day before the voting ended. And they said they are going to take some time to implement this. And I think it's even going to require a hard fork, as far as I understand it. And Kugi does some of the heavy lifting. So we have like real open source code from a community member going to be submitted, and then the core devs are going to take it from there. I think overall, look, I'm not a tokenomics expert. This is above my pay level, let's say. But I have the feeling that this is definitely positive that the DFIP is approved, and now the implementation basically starts. That's probably the number one major news piece when it comes to DeFi. And maybe one additional thing is there was a Twitter space yesterday afternoon with let's say an organization or a few guys from DeFi chain DEX trading. What they are doing is they're very proficient in trading D tokens, meaning real world assets, on the DeFi chain DEX. Very profitable. And they kind of shared some insights in how they're doing it, why it is so profitable, and they're organizing regular competitions. Not financial advice here, trading is risky, but the last trading competition that they organized, the average return per trader was around 300%. So that there are a lot of people, of course, that know what they're doing. So I would urge you, if you're interested in trading real world assets on a completely decentralized manner, do that. Go and listen to the Twitter space of yesterday. Already a few thousand people, I think almost 3,000 people tuned into that space. So there's definitely a lot of interest when it comes to real world assets. And overall Twitter space was very informative. They also left plenty of information if you want to get started, where to go, Telegram groups, and so on. So yeah, these would be the two major points there.
Cool. Okay. Thanks for the update. Let's switch to politics.
Yeah, where to start? I mean, I think I'm not sure how long it is ago that the last assassination attempt was made. I think it's Reagan or Nixon.
Reagan.
No, Reagan.
I think so.
Reagan.
Yeah, Reagan.
84. Yep. In the 80s. So 40 years. 4 decades of, let's say, normal politics, because assassination attempts there is no place for violence in politics. But pretty crazy. So Trump had a rally, and someone, I mean, if you haven't seen it, you must be living under a rock. But some young kid took a few shots at him and actually braced his ear. So he was bleeding, and the Secret Service agents they took him away from stage. He's still he's healthy. Nothing happened. They killed the shooter, and the bullets that were meant for Trump actually killed an innocent bystander, which is very sad. And I think an additional person was injured. So that's basically a bit what happened. And now the question is, how can it come to that? And there were also a few points like there is, of course, we are living in the 21st century, so there was a lot of video material of everything that was going on, and you saw how certain secret agent reacted to this incident, and how he reacted. I mean, I don't know if I could be as level-headed as he was. If you just got shot, that you basically raise your fist and say, "Fight." It's one of the coldest photos
Mm.
I've ever seen of him being raised up with the American flag on top of him. It's yeah, but crazy overall. I don't know. Do you have a few takes? Did I miss something in my summary?
No, I think the stories obviously that come out of this are three, in my opinion, that I've read. The first story is that this is a lone wolf that, yeah, just, I don't know, didn't like Trump, and I don't know, by great luck, coincidence, chance, picked the right place to shoot from, got through security screening, didn't get picked up by the snipers, and took an aim out of a distance where, yeah, also out of really great fortune for Trump, that guy didn't hit Trump. Sadly, hit that dad. Man, that was what a moving post. Did you see that post from that guy's daughter? My goodness, yeah, very moving post. Yeah, so that's kind of the first story. The second story is that this was basically an inside job by the CIA or whoever, the deep state, and they're trying to take Trump out. And they prepared a lot of things. I don't know if you look at the maps and so on. Why was there no one covering that roof? The explanations from the Secret Service also a bit weird. We don't stand on a steep on an angled roof, but then there's pictures of the White House where there's snipers on, and that's definitely angled. Then obviously the counter snipers were also on an angled roof. Obviously very like question. So obviously in the first story it's a total failure of the Secret Service. That second story is, okay, this was in a total CIA or whoever deep state job. And then you have that other story that is, this was just an and basically that's Trump doing that to himself. He completely faked that. These memes went around where he had this ketchup thing on his ear. I thought that was quite funny. Did you see those fake pictures? I thought that was, yeah, quite funny. So basically, the shots were just fired into the crowd. Didn't really go that close. Besides Trump, this is kind of the other side of the story. Yeah, at the end, I mean, that's just my kind of thinking. And Fabio, I want to hear your thoughts on this. I believe we're never gonna find out the truth because whatever we're gonna get as fact, we'll always question. Also, because it's basically, I think, the FBI investigating themselves, it's the Secret Service investigating themselves, and at the end, whatever is going to come out of this, everyone is going to come in with a preconceived opinion. And I think it's going to be very difficult for people, and I'm including actually myself on this, to actually switch my position here. I'm going to come in with my own position, and whoever has been following me on X knows my position on this. I'm going to comment this. It's going to be very difficult for me to switch position because I also don't think I'm going to be able to trust anything that's going to be revealed in there. And I think it doesn't matter to which of those three camps you fall in. And look, I have close friends who fall into all these camps. I have close friends who really believe this was a failure of the Secret Service. I have friends who really believe that this is an inside job from the deep state, the CIA, the Democrats, or whatever. And I have close friends who believe this was Trump himself trying to boost his popularity. And I think it doesn't matter what's going to come out. Everyone is going to just turn and twist the facts for themselves. It would be super surprising that one of those three positions will have such strong evidence that the other two sides will get obliterated. That's at least my thought on this. What are your What are your thoughts, Fabio?
So yeah, there is basically these three options that you just mentioned, but for me, there's only really two options because I'm actually a good shooter. I used to shoot every Saturday, assault rifle, 300 meters distance, and I participated in several tournaments. So I'm a pretty good shooter. Not, I've never finished first or second or whatever, but I'm I would say above average in my shooting skills. And if you ever shot a gun, especially 100-meter distance, so one option that you just mentioned, namely that Trump staged this himself, is for me out of the question. Because look, if you're shooting from a 120, 125-meter distance, you need a target to be absolutely still. And if Trump would be in on that, he would have hold his breath on that stage. Like he wouldn't move a millimeter, and he would have paid the best guy to do the job, not a 20-year-old kid, but somebody that's actually been to Afghanistan, that's actually done this for 30 years or so, or maybe 10 years of experience. But he moved right before the shot. He moved. I mean, if you stage this, there's no way in my mind that this scenario can be true. And the other two, of course, there is it can be
Can I just want to put
incompetency.
in the points, right? I mean, I love to play the lawyer and switch the counter. I'm not saying that this is the position I want to defend. I actually would I would rather go with your side here, but I want to kind of be devil's advocate and throw in the other side. The other side is we have not seen how close the bullets actually flew. We have not seen that his ear actually get damaged. Any damage afterwards could be done afterwards as well. Just want to be clear. And obviously, we haven't seen that like this is real blood. It could easily have been some kind of fake, right? So I just want to be very clear. So that person could have just easily fired 2 meters aside of Trump, and yeah. So I just want to be again, and it would also fit the story of if Trump would have been in it himself, then it makes sense that the Secret Service didn't defend that house, and so on, right? So I just want to be devil's advocate here. Doesn't mean that I believe this. Actually, I don't believe it, but I just kind of throw in the facts that got thrown at me by people who believe heavily in the story. And I think whatever facts you're going to give to them, you would have to show a video of the bullet actually going into his ear or by his ear, not a bullet going by him, which there are pictures, but obviously you cannot judge how far away is that. So I again, what would be like if you hold this position? Let's do the intellectual, honest thing here and kind of think about what would be have to be the evidence that these people would switch their side. What would have to be the evidence? Because everything that we're saying right now is the same thing as if you talk to flat earthers and they are gonna whatever they're just gonna come up with some crazy story, right? So, but it doesn't matter which of those three stories you believe, you will say the same thing about the other two sides. So what do you think would have to be the evidence for those people?
I don't know if if it even would be possible to convince them, because even if you have a video that is in slow motion that really shows the bullet going through his ear, they would probably say it's fabricated. Like the state of politics right now is just crazy. Like there is no amount of evidence or no talking points that can convince. And so maybe I need to say something here. Like 70% of the people on this planet, or 80%, are actually quite normal, and they are going with the evidence, and they are able to be persuaded to one side or the other. But there is this 10% on the left and this 10% on the right that is, in my opinion, a bit lost. That nothing ever will convince them to ever change their opinion. It's complete hardliners, basically. And even if you would show them a video of the bullet flying in slow motion from point A to point B, they wouldn't believe you.
Because I always think that's the key question. The key question is on anything, right? What would have to be the evidence? Like if you're listening to this or watching this, what would have to be the evidence that would change your mind? Because that is always that's the crucial evidence in any investment. That's the crucial thing in any decision. That's in anything that you have. What would be the crucial evidence that would change your mind? And that's, yeah, so it's the same thing here. And look, I asked this to people who have this belief, and they said, no, I'm convinced of that. So, like, because it's the same thing. I mean, now you have these stories out there trying to get into his phone. They can't get into his phone. And so now it's like, yeah, but let's say they say they get into his phone, right? And then, oh, we found a letter in there, a message in there that clearly states that he was a lone wolf and he's doing this on his own. Like any side is going to say, yeah, right. Like, like no one, it doesn't matter which side you belong. You just twist and turn the facts the way you want them.
Look, I mean, one thing that's definitely sprung out of this, I think it's impossible to say who's right or wrong. And with I'm not gonna say it's incompetence or it's straight up planned from somebody on the left or whatever. Like it's probably impossible to really make that call, but you can distill a few things out of this. It's definitely good. Trump heavily benefited from this. I mean, just this
I'm not
picture
sure.
alone.
I am not sure. That's where I disagree. I don't think Trump benefited from it. I don't much. Otherwise, the percentage would have gone up more. I mean, I had this conversation with a friend who said, "Oh, Trump benefited a lot from this," and I said, "Really? Tell me how." Because his odds went from 65 to 70. Really? Do you think that's a lot? And if you're telling me, "Oh no, but
Well,
it's a lot, it's solidified everything," I said, "Bullshit. Where did it solidify anything? Solidification doesn't exist. It's a pure probability. So 65 to 70, that's nothing. So if you think Trump benefited from this, then I would love to see where is this shown. Where does it show? Because the betting markets don't believe it. It's actually in a sense where this entire discussion around Biden dropping out is not going to happen. So I'm not sure Trump benefited from it, and that is also why I believe it's not likely that it was an inside job from Trump, because I think for him at this stage it's way too early to do something like this. He would have done this way later, in my opinion. It's way too early, and if I don't know. And I think if that was the impact, I mean, sure, the photos and everything, yeah, iconic. But if I look at the pictures and everything, I don't think much changed. Otherwise, look, I'm a data person. I look at the data. Show me. I mean, it's emotions on social media, but who changed their mind? I would love to hear. Like, who would have not voted for Trump before? Who's voting for Trump now? The only thing I have seen is that people come out in support of Trump. They supported Trump anyways. So I don't know. Do you think independent voters and these matter? And I think like 11 counties actually matter, right? Do you think in those 11 counties that did they change their mind? Or are they going to say, "Yeah, let's see. I mean, this is kind of dramatic, but let's wait and see." Because the betting markets, the odds, like the betting odds and so on. Nate Silver, his odds barely changed. They had Trump in advance before. They have him in advance right now. They have him fairly strong in advance. I want to be clear, but that was the same prior. The betting markets went from 65 to 70%. I don't know. Don't know.
and it's hard to say if it actually changed voters' minds, but it definitely gave a few voters the confidence to speak up or show their commitment. Like I saw a few posts where people are like, if you were wearing a MAGA hat, "Make America Great Again," it was somewhat of a provoking thing or thing that people thought about before doing it, and I think now they're wearing it with more pride. If this are, I would agree with you that this are not people that actually change their minds, but that are just showing support and feeling more confident to do so in public. But if they really change their minds, it's hard to say.
So I
Like
think, okay, I agree that Trump benefited from it, sure. But if you think massively, massively to me would have been 65 odds jumping to 85, 90%. Then I would have said, wow, okay. But 65 or 70, oh, come on. Like, Trump is going to do one silly thing, or there's going to be one thing, and that's going to change the odds again, right? So let's go to that theory. What speaks against the lone wolf? Explain. Do you want to summarize the lone wolf theory? So here we have the Trump doing it to himself theory. Let's go option number 2, which is the lone wolf theory.
Yeah, I mean, normally if you this roof was like the number one or one of the top spots that you as a Secret Service agent team needs to have an eye on. So there's like 2 or 3 things that completely went wrong. So one is the access to the roof, which was from a parking lot behind. So what could have circumvented that is basically just one police officer sitting in a car watching the parking lot. They didn't do that. They had some people inside of that building, but they had no visibility of the parking lot. And then you had the sniper team basically on a rooftop next to Trump with visibility there, and they like the guy took the Trump sniper took the lone wolf out within a second or two. That's not possible if you didn't have a visual before that. And there were like people. The crowd was pointing at this guy and making videos at this guy for like a minute before something happened. So like there is one post that made me on a public forum. One of these sniper officers, he actually posted something, and he said that he had visual on the suspect for like 2 minutes, and he was waiting
This
for
never really
confirmation to
got
take the
confirmed
shot.
though. Huh? I think that 4chan post, yeah.
Yeah, 4chan. Exactly. It was on
Mm.
4chan. No, it didn't. It wasn't confirmed that this was actually the guy that made the post. But if this would be happening, it would, I don't know, there is something higher up the chain that is completely broken. I don't know, it can be that this is, it actually was a lone wolf. And yeah, I don't know. It's also a bit weird that he is a registered Republican. Just a few months prior to the assassination attempt, he registered as a Republican, which is also a bit weird. But I don't know. There's so many question marks
Okay,
left unturned.
let me make the case. So I'm going to make the case for the lone wolf, and I want to be very clear. It's not the theory that I believe, but I want to make the case. The case is that the last assassination on attempt on a president is over 40 years ago. Most of the disturbances during such rallies are, I know, people who get angry, push other people around, start shouting, are people who just try to interrupt, are hecklers. Like over the last 40 years, 99.999% of all instances are these instances. So the expectation of there being an assassination attempt was basically zero, especially because it is a lone wolf. Again, I want to be very clear. I'm just making the case here, right? So it's me kind of pleading that case. So there's a lone wolf. No one expects anything. I have this entire kind of situation. I checked it out. There's this one building that is actually outside of the compound. It belongs to a different company, so it's not part of that farm, of the owner of that farm, and so on. So it's a different kind of building. We have a bit of issues getting onto that roof because of permissions, blah blah blah. Whatever is the exact reason. Let's just leave this aside for now. So the way we're going to defend this is we just have someone who's kind of guarding this. And again, my case here is there's real incompetence by this person, whoever had to guard this, and we're gonna figure out who actually was that person to kind of miss that. And so once we have that person, we're gonna fire that person. So how did that shooter get on top? That's pure. What's it called? I think Arkham's razor or something. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong. So if it had been any other roof, it would have been caught way earlier. So it's the same thing that where people believe that there's anything special about our universe. But the simple answer is it's just like you are being picked by like one out of trillions and trillions of sperm cells. It's just that one becomes that kind of survivor. And it's the same thing here. The reason that person took a shot or took several shots is because it could not have happened on any other roof. So and it just happened to be the easiest and the closest one. So just it was actually not so much that went wrong. It's just the kind of precondition that made it actually in a very bad situation, and that's how that shooter got on top. So why did the sniper not shoot earlier? To me, at least, it's because that sniper didn't expect uh, any kind of being able to go on there, and so that person may have a visual and then sits there, and that's also why you see that on that video where the sniper aims, then looks up and is like, "Whoa, what's going on?" Then tuck, 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 and then shoots it afterwards. Because in my opinion, he was also super surprised. That would be my case for the lone wolf. Also, that case for missing, um, because he's not a trained shooter. He's just frustrated with life. That would be my case. Um, I believe that? No, because I think other scenarios are way more likely. But that's the story. In my opinion, if that were the case, I agree with what Elon posted. You need to fire the Secret Service chief, and you need to fire. Like, you really need to kind of fire a lot of people. And looking at the convention, I mean, it seems that Trump's closest kind of security team really got replaced. So, I mean, actions definitely were taken there. So, there's at least a bit of my case.
Yeah, 100%. Like fire a few people, investigate this, and then the third question that kind of raised out of this is the DEI question. I mean, there was with all of the videos that we saw, there was like heavy or obvious incompetence when it came to certain participants. You know, people protecting Trump, and yeah, definitely. one of the situations that actually shows that, over the past, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years or so, we stopped hiring for merit as and competency as the main attribute. But
And it
right now
became
we
super
rather,
racist.
yeah.
Yeah, it is racist. People, it is what it is. People are like a lot of companies are racist when hiring. They are discriminating on gender. They are, yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous how they're hiring. Okay, let's go to the third scenario. That is it's whatever the Democrats slash I don't know CIA, the deep state tried to kill Trump. And here I want to make the case they would have actually benefited the most. It was a very unique timing in the entire election who would have benefited the most because you had Biden struggling, gaining a footing again. It's very clear that he lost the debate against Trump. It was very clear that he couldn't recover his state in the interviews that he gave afterwards. He had abysmal ratings. Plus, Trump hadn't picked a VP yet, a vice president. So you had a very small window, about a week of time frame, where if you had eliminated Trump, you would have really caused chaos in the Republicans, and it wouldn't have been clear on who would be the successor. So to answer that question, who would have benefited most? It's not so much who benefited most. It's if the plan would have worked, who would have benefited the most. And if the plan for Trump had benefited the most, that he did this inside job, I don't think he actually thought he was going to benefit the most. The lone wolf, sure, could have benefited the most. I think so, but I mean, that's depending on what that lone wolf wanted. I still think the benefit would have been the most in for that inside job on the other side. Now, I get it. That's complete conspiracy theory. I understand. But from a Q Bono question, that is really the question. Again, all the other things, I want to be very clear the same question marks as in all the other things, right? You had to actually have probably a lot of people involved, in my opinion. Um, I think it would have. There's still a lot of question mark if you could have done so many things with so many people, because you probably need at least a handful of people involved, and it's really questionable if you can keep this secret, even in a group of 5 people, right? And because that's such a high-profile thing, so the Q Bono question really, to me, points at such that angle. To me, what makes it so difficult there is that none of that got leaked, none of that went out. There was like it's that is just the really really difficult part. Now, yeah, and that's why I believe it's going to be very difficult to change anyone's mind on this. That's just my thoughts. Um, what are your thoughts on that? One, can I throw in one theory? And that one theory is if you're trying to actually do this with very few people involved, you could do this with a lot of psyops, where you went, and obviously this now we're getting into super conspiracy theory, but you could do this by basically going and having a lot of potential targets that are weak targets. You kind of profile them and so on. And then you go and you find those weak targets that you could kind of manipulate. And you basically go into this initiative. And then you just kind of lay a bit of the plan and see what is happening, what's going on. And then you see which one of those targets gets through and the other ones just get filtered out. Now, that is uber conspiratorial because obviously, I mean, you can say this about anything in life, right? So it's just more on. I saw this really funny graphic about where data are these dots, then you have information where you connect the dots, and then you have like the insight, which is like you mark a few dots, then you have wisdom, which is like you connect those really bright dots, and then you have the unicorn, which is like the conspiracy theory. So yeah, I think that's where we're ending up here. What are your thoughts?
Look, I'm definitely on the conspiracy theory side with a lot of things. I think the political system in most countries is completely broken. Like we are getting manipulated largely by the media and a few people that are have a lot of interests, especially financial interests, political interests, and Trump is like this one guy they can't control. He's like a wild card that is like. Yuval Harari, he wrote 4 good books, I think 3 good books, and he said that in an interview just a few days ago. He said, like if Trump is going to be elected, it would basically put an end to the global order. And that's how a lot of these people think, because they cannot control him. He's not pulling the same strings and doing the same things as all the other people, and which makes this makes him a dangerous person, a dangerous politician in the eyes of these people. And I don't know. I don't like how politics developed the last 15 years. I don't know if it has been any better before. I don't know, before social media, before 2012 or so. But right now, I don't know. I just feel we're getting a lot of things very backwards, and we're basically, a lot of people are just thrown into a pit and basically pitted against each other on gender, on race, on. And while Julian and myself, we briefly talked about this before coming into that call, that I am fully aware that this algorithm feeds my own bias, and that what I'm reading online, not everything is real and so on. But even me being aware of that, it does get to me. I feel that I'm being influenced by my own actions, by the algorithm, by these echo chambers that are being online. And like, it's probably influencing all of us and putting us into a more extreme camp than what we actually believe in. So I don't know. I'm more on the conspiracy theory side, that they actually tried this. Was a bit of a plan to take him out, because they just don't see any other way to win. Like, they're in the camp of going, look, if they wouldn't have tried, they went after him after his reputation. They went after his finances. They tried to jail him with the legal system. All of these three basically failed, and now they even try to assassinate him. And if I say they, I don't know actually who, but it's a lot of coincidences. And the same goes for the assassination attempt. A lot of coincidences, a lot of question marks, where you need to say, was this really just coincidence? Was it really just incompetency? Or is there maybe something else behind it? I don't think we're going to get an answer to this question, probably in 30 years when they reveal the documents. That's kind of the thing that the US government is doing, waiting 30 years and then, oh yeah, we kind of did that. And then nobody cares anymore. But it's definitely, the world is so heated right now. Like, people that wish that the bullet hasn't missed, there are actually voices that say that, why didn't he have missed, and he shouldn't have missed. I think that could be the starting of a civil war in the United States. Like, the political climate is very, very heated. Look, one thing that I'm very surprised by, and where you also can see how the political climate is at, is there wasn't a single city that had riots. They didn't burn down stuff. They didn't shoot at police officers and whatnot. Just imagine if the same thing would have happened to Biden. We would have major cities burned down, looting, rioting, and so on. But yeah, it's all that's just my thoughts on this. But it's crazy how we got where we are right now. Yeah, politics is not what it used to be anymore.
Yeah. Let's finish with macro.
Yes. So betting markets or probability markets are showing like an 80% chance for a rate cut in September. And then here the question, and I want to basically give two scenarios. Like, if you look at the historic points where the Fed cut their rates, equities actually sold off dramatically. And why would this time be different? So I understand the side of, okay, there's a lot of money parked in T-bills, in treasuries, that gets a 5% yield. And if you lower the yields, people are actually looking to get a better yield in another asset. So they're taking the money that are in treasuries and they're putting it into equities, and that is fueling the next rally. I get that point. And a lot of people are making that. So lower rates means equity prices going up, more stimulus, and so on. But I'm not 100% convinced, because just if you look at the historic moments where the Fed cut rates, equities actually sold off. So now my dilemma, or where I'm kind of split in between, is, are we going to see a rate cut in September and then assets selling off for a few months and then rising into maybe 2025? or is the rate cut actually going to be a bullish event and we're going to pick off, in end of Q3 into Q4? These are a bit of the two scenarios that I'm caught in between. So short term bearish and then bullish, or just bullish. These are basically the two conundrums, or the question that I ask myself. Because, and here just one, I started investing after the great financial crisis. And when I knew after 2018, they cut rates as well, said, okay, if they are cutting rates and raising rates, sell. This was what I noted down in my basically investor journey. Because I mean, you would have done exceptionally well if you would have done that in the past. Now the question is this time going to be different? I don't know. What are your thoughts on the rate cut? Is this actually bullish or not?
Man, it's like, I mean, a couple of things. If you look at real fundamentals on betting markets in a sense, then one of the key things is looking at the spread between the 2-year and the 10-year interest rate. And for the first time in a long time, this thing has switched positive again, meaning you get more for lending the government 10 years money than 2 years, which makes a lot of sense, because the longer you lend someone money, the higher of an interest rate you want, because at the end you tie it up longer, there's more risk and so on. So, I mean, yeah, dude, we talked so much about this in the last 2 years on if the Fed and so on actually maybe got this one right. At the moment, it's absolutely insane how well they are doing. To me, the question really not is less of is the stock market gonna correct a bit, and I would be okay if the stock market corrects a little bit. I mean, it's been ripping, right? So let's say even if it goes 10, 15, 20%, it's a massive correction, don't get me wrong. But to me, it's more on the economy. How is the economy gonna do? Are people gonna lose their jobs in droves? Are we gonna see a recession? And I have to admit, at the moment, it doesn't look like it. So, man, I hope I hope so that they get this right. But I'm still a bit doubtful. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like I was both of us actually. If we turn back the clock a year ago, we were both expecting a recession, and we both of us we changed our minds. And it kind of looks like that Jerome Powell and the Fed they are getting it right.
Yeah.
If we are not going to enter a recession, and of course, it's pretty insane to me that after such a insane and rapid rate hiking cycle, that the markets are just making new all-time highs as if nothing happened, and everything is pretty wild. Not just politics, which we just talked about, but also financial markets. It's kind of a new era, and things that have been true in the past are somewhat different right now. And how it all, I'm still super confident that we are gonna have a bullish end of the year and a bullish next year. I just don't know short term. So there might be a buying opportunity. Not sure yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other last things? Otherwise, I'm gonna do our raffle of our winner of the weekly draw, $500. Let's do that. Great. I have my random number generator here. So the way this works, I hope you can see this. We have all the people who completed the challenge. So if you want to participate in this, then check it out next week. Check it out for the next week as well. We're going to do this every week, $500. So these are all the codes. We obviously put some numbers out just for privacy reasons. So let's save this and let's go. And we have a winner. 3493 and then 2 more stars. I'm just going to screenshot that so we know who that is. Amazing. Congratulations. We're going to be in touch. Please be careful that no one is scamming you with this. There may be impersonators. So just be really careful. Team is going to be in touch, and you're going to get this onto your bank account automatically. You don't have to do anything. Don't have to send funds anywhere. You don't have to fill anything out. You don't have to give in any private keys. It's going to happen by itself, but we're still going to reach out just to be in touch. Cool. Fabio, any last things? Anything we didn't mention? We are good.
Maybe one on Bake. We are very much aware of what you guys need and what you guys want. So we're working on bank transfers that you can set up your reoccurring buys with very low fees. We are looking into sorting mechanisms and display mechanisms to better feature your custom bundles that you guys created. Amazing, by the way, how many awesome bundles we currently have on Bake.
Man, we're getting close to 100. Close to 100.
Yeah, close to 100 custom bundles that you guys created. I would recommend, very strongly recommend that you browse through these bundles. We have a few ones that are performing exceptionally and are up big time, like double-digit percentages in just weeks or days. So definitely look at that. And then we are looking into other things. Like I know a bunch of you guys mentioned ton staking. We are currently evaluating that, and we have many other small, let's say, life hacks upgrade that just make your experience a lot easier. Like we are looking into rebalancing bundles and so on. Like there's a lot of let's say innovation that is coming, especially to those bundles, the way ins and the ways out of them, and how we display them, how you interact with them. So that's maybe on the company. And then just the housekeeping in the end. If you missed the beginning of the space or of these YouTube live sessions, they are going to be recorded. Apple, Spotify, YouTube. In the beginning we talked a bit about crypto, then we went into politics, and we ended with macro. So if you want to rewatch that, definitely make sure hit subscribe, hit the like, and yeah, that would be it from my side.
Amazing. Cool. With that, everyone, I wish you a beautiful Wednesday, beautiful rest of the week. Let's see prices going up. Fingers crossed. Stay safe, stay healthy, good decision making. Hear you all next week. Cheers, everyone.